stood when I was small, and it's so picturesque, looking through the crystal.
Ciao, and welcome to Gios Paintbrush, where 5 minutes is all it takes to be blown away by one of the world's greatest artists. I've always found portraiture to be among the most challenging genres of painting. Reading the expression on a subject's face, or interpreting the meaning of a gaze, or deciphering the significance of one's clothing and props, unless I have specific prior knowledge of the historical period, or of the subject's known attributes, it's one of the greatest challenges art poses for me. It's not that I can't appreciate the exquisite detail, the lifelike rendering, or even the ambiguity of some of the world's most remarkable portraits. Leonardo's Mona Lisa, of course, is the most obvious example. It's that more often than not, I look at a portrait, even a masterful one, and I don't have much of a response to it. It's as if the subject is so specific and so personal and remote in time and place that I struggle to access it. I know this is something I need to work on, and I suspect I'm not alone. But when Dana and I visited Madrid's Museo del Prado in late December of 2008, one of the world's greatest art museums, I encountered, really for the first time, a portrait that I felt instantly intrigued by, even a bit annoyed by. The German artist Albrecht Durer's late 15th century self-portrait, oil on wooden panel. What first caught my attention, drawing me to this portrait and causing me to linger, to consider the piece at a level new for me when it comes to portrait painting, was Durer's self-assured, arrogant expression, and his in-your-face, bold positioning and dress. I was irritated by this guy on wood panels sitting there with a smug look on his face, and somehow I got the feeling he knew he was irritating me across more than 500 years of time, and that he was enjoying it, which only made me more annoyed with Albrecht Durer, and more interested in how and why this painting came to be. Thanks for joining us. Here he is, Albrecht Durer, as painted by Albrecht Durer in 1498. Self-satisfied, proud, body facing right but gaze fixed left, glaring at the viewer of his painting with eyes that seem to say, "Yes, I'm a very important person. It's obvious, isn't it?" And his aristocratic dress, by no means the typical garb for a painter in this or any era, especially the white gloves, places Durer among the rich and or famous, who often commission such portraits, for their own vanity perhaps, but also to affirm their social status and the important leadership role they played in their communities. But Durer wasn't German nobility, nor was he wealthy. But in this, one of many self-portraits he completed during his career, he boldly placed himself in that position. In order to make absolutely clear who he was and how he felt about himself, he even added script to the scene, on the wall, just below the window. It reads, translated from the German, 1498. I painted it according to my figure. I was 26 years old, Albrecht Durer. How could this guy have been so self-absorbed? Here's how. While Durer portrays himself as smug and proud in this piece, he does so, it turns out, not out of mere personal vanity, but out of an intentional desire to comment on the importance artists have to society, as well as to emphasize the worth of the individual and his talents over designations like social station and economic class. According to critic Joseph Kerner, Durer, having recently returned to Germany from his first trip to Italy, where he encountered the Italian Renaissance and an optimistic, daring humanism, was eager to assert, boldly and proudly, the value of his artistic endeavors, and the humanistic principle he encountered in Italy, namely that human creative genius is a tremendous gift from God that should be pursued freely, and that the artist should hold a cherished place in society. As Kerner points out, Germany, at least to Durer, did not exactly embrace these Renaissance concepts. How I shall freeze after this sun. Here, in Italy, I am a gentleman. At home, only a parasite, Durer wrote later to a friend. Two elements in this painting that I recognize myself as greatly influenced by the Italian Renaissance are the placement of the subject in a believable space, a room, near an open window looking out at a realistic landscape, and the treatment of the landscape, especially the blue horizon, the Italians having first arrived at the notion that shades of blue best depict the horizon to the human eye. Durer's self-portrait also possesses a wonderful depth, in part created by the landscape viewed through the window. But in addition, do you see how Durer himself, through skillful composition and use of color, appears in more than one dimension in the foreground? Look behind his head and over his shoulders at the way his hat, his hair, and his clothing contrast with the colors of the wall and the window frame. And the colors he selects for the portrait, rich, plush shades of gold, brown, beige, and off-white, suggest affluence, opulence, a princely royalty, further communicating his own respect and appreciation for artistic achievement. I am also struck by his technical skill. Look carefully at his hair, and then at the gold trim at the top of the shirt. The detail is amazing. The patience and ability needed to complete these elements of the painting are beyond comprehension, and one reason why the Prado, just loaded with important priceless art, includes this work among its top 15 masterpieces. And now that I know just a little about the rationale behind Durer's rather arrogant portrayal of himself in 1498, I have a newfound respect for this piece, which reaches beyond its technical merits and initial ability to capture my attention. This guy was standing up, rather defiantly it seems to me, perhaps even courageously, for art, for artistic endeavor, and for artists, and celebrating how one individual, Albrecht Durer, was willing to take this stand publicly, and through this painting rather permanently, even if people, like me, upon first encountering the piece, don't understand it and don't like it very much. This is a fascinating painting I think anyone who values the creative process can appreciate. Thanks for joining.
I can picture it like I could when I was small, and it's so picturesque, looking through the crystal ball.